The purpose of this video is to introduce a topic that highlights the contrast of two distinguished cultures, the African political culture and the American political culture. Good evening and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Germinal Gerard Van, author of American Political Culture and Observation from the Outside. I decided to make this video because I want to share with my audience the main difference between the two cultures that I have been personally living in. In order to understand the main difference between the two cultures, we need to understand the concept of these cultures. And the concept of these cultures are nurtured in two distinguished principles and elements. The first is the nature of authority. And the second is the political attitude that both cultures have endorsed. In the African continent, we have highly believed in charismatic authority. What does it mean? It means that we have given power, we have vested into authority in one single individual to make the decisions to guide the nations. Why is that? Because in Africa, we have a tremendous respect for authority. And authority has many forms. It can be in political leader, the economic leader, religious leader, or simply your parents. Where I grew up, we do not contest the decisions of the parents. Whatever decisions that our parents made it, we automatically believe that is for our own good. So we do not argue the decision, we simply trust the judgment because we believe that the leader has not only the final words, but he has the right choices and makes the wisest choices. In the United States, authority is not vested in the individual, it is vested in the institutions. What the American people believe in is the institutions rather than the person that represents that institution. Because the person that represents that institution is simply here for a specific term, then somebody will come and carry on the duties. The second element that I want to talk about is individualism versus collectivism. Individualism will never ever work in Africa. Collectivism will never ever work in the United States, period. Why is that? In the United States, collectivism will never work because the Constitution of the United States has been written in order to emphasize on the fulfillment of the individual. In the United States, the personal fulfillment of the individual is the most important element in society. That's why people who do not really understand American culture will say that American people are selfish. They only think about themselves. They don't care about anything else but themselves. But the reason why the American people think and feel that way, it's simply because the Constitution has been written for them. It has been written for the government to not encroach in their liberties, in the citizens' liberties. Because for the American people, collectivism is the epitome of socialism. Collectivism is is a political doctrine that prevents the individual to think for himself. It prevents the individual to care about himself. It suppresses his critical thinking. In Africa, we believe in collectivism because whatever we do is not for us, but it's for the community as a whole. It's for the community because we grew up as Africans by learning how to share whatever we have. Whatever I have is not just for me, but it's also for you. It's for my neighbor. While in the Western world, it's more about self-preservation. So we see here the thoughts of Thomas Hobbes and John Locke about individual liberties. You have to think about your self-preservation. You have to think about your personal fulfillment before thinking about the fulfillment of others. But in Africa, as I was saying, we learn as growing up to share whatever we have because whatever we do is for the greater good, is for the community. Our own being is not as important as the being of the community. That's the main difference between the two cultures. Because in Africa, the community is the driving force of the political culture in the dark continent. It is the engine that enhances society as a whole. In the United States, the individual is the driving force of society. In the United States, we believe that an individual can fulfill his happiness through his work ethics. He doesn't need to be necessarily educated. He doesn't need to be necessarily an intellectual. What he needs is to work hard to provide, not just for his family, but to its personal fulfillment. It's entrepreneurship. This is an element that is quintessential in American political culture, that is now growing in African political culture too. Now, what is my recommendation about the improvement that can be made in both cultures? I'm going to start with the African political culture. I believe that the African people should have more faith in political institutions than the political leader. Because when we are emotionally attached to our political leader, we do not think outside the box. We do not see the big picture. And one problem with being attached to the political leader is that there is political instabilities. Because if the leader we are attached to, for instance, runs for election and says, oh, he did not win, he contests the result, it creates civil war. So it is important to have that peaceful transition of power by putting faith in our political institutions. South Africa and Ghana are the two countries that lead that way in Africa, and I believe that most African countries should follow that path too. Now, when it comes to the United States, I believe the American people should have government regulations on individual liberties because too much freedom kills freedom. When there is too much freedom, it creates anarchy. And we have seen that with the mass shootings that have recently occurred since 2012. This is something that never happened in Africa and will never happen in Africa because it is individual liberties are not important compared to the American people. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure to share my thoughts with you on this specific topic. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.